Started with the storm. When you're a trucker, bad weather is more than an inconvenience. It's a harbinger of danger. This one rolled in out of nowhere, the kind that turns the highway into a sheet of black glass, rain slicing down in heavy curtains. I was on a long haul, miles of empty road ahead and a tight deadline forcing me forward. The rig groaned under the weight of my load, a trailer packed with steel beams, and every gust of wind pushed me closer to the edge of my lane. Out there, in the middle of nowhere, the isolation gets to you. The CB radio was silent, my usual chatter with other drivers absent. Even the playlist I relied on to keep my mind busy wasn't cutting through the eerie silence of the cab. Then I saw the hitchhiker. I don't stop for anyone. Not since my early days on the road when a buddy of mine vanished after picking someone up. But this guy wasn't on the shoulder. He was standing dead center in the road, facing my truck, soaked to the bone. The rain blurred his outline, but I could see he wasn't moving. Just standing there, waiting. I slammed on the brakes, the air horn wailing into the storm. The tires screamed, the entire rig shuddering as it fought the slick road. I stopped just a few feet short of the man. Heart pounding, I leaned on the horn again, expecting him to move. He didn't. Something about him wasn't right. His posture was off, too rigid like a mannequin that had been propped upright. His face was pale, eyes reflecting the headlights in an unnatural way. I couldn't see his features clearly, but the intensity of his stare sent a chill down my spine. I didn't get out. No way. I just rolled down the window slightly and shouted over the rain. "Hey, you need help or what?" He didn't respond, didn't even blink, just stood there. I should have driven off. Everything in me screamed to get moving, but before I could act, he turned his head slowly, unnaturally slow, toward the passenger side of the cab. And that's when I heard it. A soft scratching sound, like nails dragging over metal. It was coming from the other side of the truck. My pulse quickened, my breath fogging the inside of the cab as I turned to look. Nothing, just rain streaming down the windows. When I turned back, the hitchhiker was gone. The road ahead was empty, save for the sheets of rain slamming against the asphalt. I sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. The scratching sound came again, this time louder. It wasn't on the window anymore. It was on the trailer. I threw the truck into gear and punched the gas. Whatever was happening, I wasn't sticking around to find out. The rig roared as it picked up speed, water spraying up in thick plumes from the tires. I kept glancing at the side mirrors, expecting to see something, or someone, climbing onto the trailer. But there was nothing, only darkness. The CB crackled to life, a burst of static cutting through the tension. I snatched the mic. "Anyone out there? This is Greenhorn, southbound on I-80. Over." The response came immediately, but it wasn't a voice I recognized. It was low, distorted, and tinged with static. "You can't outrun it." I slammed the mic back onto its cradle, heart hammering. My headlights caught movement up ahead, a figure darting across the road. I barely swerved in time to avoid it, the trailer fishtailing behind me. My pulse thundered in my ears as I struggled to regain control. The CB crackled again. "You're wasting time." I didn't respond. Couldn't. My throat was dry, my hands clammy against the wheel. Whatever was happening, it wasn't natural. I was a rational man, a realist, but this was something else entirely. The scratching noise came back, louder than ever. It wasn't on the trailer anymore. It was on the roof of the cab. The weight of something or someone shifted above me, the creaking of metal unmistakable. I couldn't bring myself to look up. My mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. Then the tapping started. Soft, deliberate on the windshield. A shadowy shape moved across the glass, its outline distorted by the rain. It was the hitchhiker. His face was inches from mine, separated only by the thin barrier of glass. His lips didn't move, but I heard his voice clearly. "You can't outrun what's already inside." The rig lurched violently, the tires slipping on the wet road. I lost control, the truck skidding sideways before tipping. The world spun, metal screeched, and my vision blurred. When I came to, the cab was on its side, the rain still pounding. I was bleeding, dazed, but alive. The trailer had detached and was leaning precariously on the edge of a steep embankment. I didn't stick around to see what came next. I crawled out of the shattered windshield and stumbled into the storm. The road was empty again, no sign of the hitchhiker, or whatever had been on the roof. But as I staggered down the highway, the CB crackled one last time, the distorted voice trailing after me. You can't outrun the dark. I never drove that route again. After the wreck, I hitched a ride with another trucker, one of the few good ones left who still believed in the code of the road, help your own. His name was Dale, a grizzled old-timer who smelled like diesel and stale coffee. He didn't ask too many questions, just grunted in acknowledgement when I told him I'd been in an accident. I didn't mention the hitchhiker or the voice on the CB. I wasn't sure how to explain it without sounding insane. As we rolled along the highway, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was following me. Dale's rig was old but solid, the kind of truck that felt like it could plow through a mountain if needed. Yet, every now and then, I'd catch something in the side mirror. A shadow darting along the shoulder, too fast to be human but too grounded to be an animal. "Storm's clearing up," Dale said, breaking the silence. His voice was gruff but kind, the kind of voice you'd trust in an emergency. "You lucky you didn't get swept off the road in that mess." I nodded, keeping my eyes on the mirror. "Yeah, lucky." We pulled into a truck stop just as dawn was breaking, the storm clouds retreating into the distance. The neon sign flickered above the diner, a greasy spoon joint called Rosie's. A few rigs were parked in the lot, their drivers inside grabbing coffee or catching a quick nap. Felt normal, comforting. Like the nightmare on the road had been nothing more than a bad dream. Dale gave me a pat on the shoulder as we climbed out of the cab. "Coffee's on me, kid. You look like you've seen a ghost." If only he knew. Inside, the place smelled of burnt toast and overcooked bacon. Truckers and locals mingled, their conversations a low hum against the clatter of dishes. I followed Dale to a booth in the corner, my back to the wall. I needed to see the room, make sure no one, or nothing, was creeping up on me. The waitress came over, pouring us both coffee without asking. She looked tired, her hair pulled back into a messy bun, but she smiled like she cared. "What can I get you boys?" Dale ordered the usual eggs, hash browns, and enough bacon to clog an artery. I just asked for toast. My stomach was in knots, and the idea of eating made me queasy. As she walked away, Dale leaned in. "So, you gonna tell me what really happened out there?" I froze. "What do you mean?" He sipped his coffee, eyes narrowing. "I've been on the road 40 years. Seen my share of accidents, bad weather, and bad luck. But you got the look. The one that says it wasn't just a jackknife or a hydroplane." I opened my mouth to lie, to tell him it was nothing, but the words wouldn't come. The memory of the hitchhiker, the voice, the tapping on the windshield, it was all too vivid. Before I could respond, the door to the diner swung open, and every head turned. A man walked in, soaking wet despite the fact that the storm had passed hours ago. His clothes were old, tattered, like something out of another decade. But it was his face that made my blood run cold. It was the hitchhiker. He didn't look at anyone, didn't speak. Just walked to the counter and sat down, water pooling at his feet. The waitress went to take his order, but he ignored her, staring straight ahead. She frowned and moved on, muttering something under her breath. "Hey," Dale said, nudging me. "You all right? You're white as a sheet." I couldn't tear my eyes away from the man at the counter. "That's him." Dale followed my gaze. "Who?" "The guy in the road." Dale's expression darkened. "You're sure?" Before I could answer, the hitchhiker turned his head ever so slightly, his eyes meeting mine. They weren't human. Too bright, too reflective, like the glow of headlights on a wet road. A slow smile spread across his face, and my heart sank. I stood up, knocking over my coffee. "We need to go." Dale frowned. "What are you talking about?" "Now," I hissed, grabbing his arm. The other patrons were starting to notice, their conversations dying down as they glanced between me and the man at the counter. The hitchhiker stood, his movements deliberate, almost mechanical. He turned toward me, that eerie smile never wavering. I bolted for the door, dragging Dale with me. The second we stepped outside, the air changed. It was cold, bitterly so, and the lot was eerily silent. The other rigs were gone. So was Dale's. "What the hell?" Dale started, but I cut him off. "He's not human," I said, my voice trembling. "We need to get out of here." The diner door creaked open behind us, and I didn't need to look to know who it was. "Run," I whispered. "Just run." Dale didn't need convincing. We sprinted across the truck stop lot, the gravel crunching under our boots. My lungs burned, and my legs felt like they were moving through molasses, but I didn't dare look back. I could feel him behind us, his presence pressing down like a weight on my chest. Ahead, the faint outline of a rest area building came into view. A squat, concrete structure with a flickering security light over the entrance. It wasn't much, but it was something. We charged toward it, slamming through the door and locking it behind us. Inside, the air was stale, the fluorescent lights casting a sickly glow over the peeling walls and cracked tile floor. It was eerily quiet, save for our ragged breathing. Dale leaned against the wall, clutching his chest. "What in the hell was that?" I didn't answer. My eyes were on the door, waiting for it to burst open. But it didn't. The handle didn't rattle, the wood didn't splinter. It was as if the hitchhiker had vanished. Dale straightened, his face pale but resolute. "All right, kid. You're gonna tell me what's going on, right now?" I ran a hand through my hair, trying to steady my voice. "I don't know what he is. He showed up on the road, and weird things started happening. The CB, the noises, the wreck. It's like he's hunting me." Dale frowned, his brow furrowing. "Hunting you? Why?" "I don't know," I snapped, my voice echoing off the walls. "But he's not human, Dale. You saw him." Dale was about to respond when the lights flickered. Once, twice, then went out entirely, plunging us into darkness. I felt a wave of dread wash over me. "He's here," I whispered. A low scraping sound echoed through the room, metal against tile. My heart pounded as I fumbled for my phone, its weak flashlight cutting through the gloom. The beam landed on Dale's face, his eyes wide with fear. "What is that?" he whispered. The scraping grew louder, closer. I swung the light toward the sound, and my blood turned to ice. The hitchhiker was there, standing in the center of the room. But he wasn't alone. Shadows moved around him, twisting and writhing like living things. Their shapes were impossible, limbs bending in ways that defied logic, eyes glowing like embers in the dark. The hitchhiker smiled, his teeth gleaming unnaturally white. "You can't run forever." Dale swore under his breath, grabbing a metal trash can and hurling it at the man. It passed through him as if he were made of smoke, clattering uselessly to the floor. "Move!" I shouted, pulling Dale toward the back of the room. There was a maintenance door, our only chance. We barreled through it, into a narrow hallway that led to an emergency exit. The shadows followed, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. "Keep going," I yelled, shoving Dale ahead of me. He slammed into the door, throwing it open. Cold night air rushed in as we stumbled outside, into the open field behind the rest stop. The shadows didn't stop. They poured out of the building like a living tide, the hitchhiker walking calmly at their center. His gaze locked onto mine, and I felt a pull, like gravity, dragging me toward him. Dale grabbed my arm, snapping me out of it. "Don't look at him. Just run." We bolted across the field, the wet grass slick beneath our boots. The shadows were faster, closing the distance with inhuman speed. I could hear their whispers now, clearer than before. "Stop running. Accept it. You belong to us." Ahead, a dense line of trees loomed. A forest, dark and foreboding, but it was our only hope. We dove into the undergrowth, branches tearing at our clothes and skin. The shadows hesitated at the edge, swirling angrily as if the forest was holding them back. For a moment, I thought we were safe. Then the hitchhiker stepped forward, his smile widening. The shadows surged after him, spilling into the trees. "We have to keep moving," I said, my voice shaking. Dale nodded, his face grim. We ran deeper into the forest, the whispers growing louder, closer. My legs burned, and my lungs felt like they would burst, but I couldn't stop. Not now. Suddenly, Dale stumbled, crashing to the ground. I turned back, grabbing his arm. "Come on. We're almost there." "Go," he gasped. "I'll hold them off." "No way," I said, pulling him to his feet. "We're getting out of this together." The shadows closed in, the hitchhiker's figure towering above them. His voice cut through the chaos, calm and menacing. "You can't escape. This is where it ends." "No," I muttered, my mind racing. My eyes landed on a clearing up ahead, moonlight filtering through the trees. Something about it felt safe, sacred, almost. "Over there," I shouted, dragging Dale toward the light. The shadows recoiled as we crossed into the clearing, their whispers turning into screams. The hitchhiker stopped at the edge, his smile fading. "You can't stay there forever," he said, his voice echoing unnaturally. But he didn't step into the clearing. The shadows writhed around him, but they couldn't cross the threshold. Whatever this place was, it was protecting us. Dale collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. I stood there, staring at the hitchhiker, my fists clenched. "What do you want from me?" I shouted. His eyes gleamed. "You'll find out. Soon." And then he was gone. The shadows dissolved, and the forest fell silent. We didn't wait to see if he'd come back. As soon as we could walk, we made our way to the nearest road and flagged down a passing car. I don't know who that driver was or why they stopped, but I'll always be grateful. I haven't driven a rig since that night. Dale retired too. But sometimes, when the wind howls or the rain hits the windows just right, I hear whispers. And I know he's still out there, waiting,